Glimpses of India is a collection of 3 prose pieces that showcase the country's cultural diversity. The first offers a nostalgic portrayal of Goa through the village baker and enduring Portuguese bread-making traditions. The second describes Coorg as a scenic piece of heaven, noted for its brave people, coffee estates, and dense rainforests. The third follows 2 students in Assam discussing the history, legends, and worldwide appeal of tea. The lesson also includes vocabulary and comprehension exercises and concludes with a poem by Adrian Rich that uses tree imagery to reflect on nature and confinement. Pack your imaginary bags, because today we aren't just opening a textbook, we are embarking on a cross-country expedition. Notice the 3 distinct worlds portrayed in these panels: the European-style streets on the left, the misty hills in the center, and the lush plantations on the right. These aren't just pretty pictures. They represent the incredible diversity found in the single chapter Glimpses of India. It is fascinating to see how one nation can hold such visibly different cultures, climates, and colors together side by side. Understanding this visual variety is the first step to grasping the rich, complex identity of the country we are about to explore. Before we dive into the stories, let's get our bearings on this map to understand exactly where our journey will take us. Trace the dotted line, traveling from the western coast of Goa down to the hills of Coorg, and finally all the way east to Assam. This route isn't just geographical. It is a thematic journey moving from nostalgia to martial pride and finally to ancient legends. Mapping these locations mentally helps you anchor the distinct moods of each story we are about to explore. Visualizing the distance helps us appreciate just how vast and varied the landscapes of these narratives truly are. Imagine waking up to the smell of fresh baking and the sound of a bamboo staff striking the ground. Look at the warm golden hues of this street scene and the central fire of the traditional oven. They evoke a deep sense of comfort and history. This visual sets the stage for Lucio Rodriguez's memoir, which is less about the bread itself and more about the longing for a simpler past. Recognizing this tone of nostalgia is crucial for analyzing the author's emotional connection to these fading traditions. It reminds us that sometimes a simple taste or smell is the strongest link we have to our childhood. Here stands the central character of our first story, the traditional Goan baker or potter. Observe his unique attire, the kabai, a single-piece frock that immediately distinguishes him from anyone else in the village. That bamboo staff in his hand isn't just a walking stick. It is his musical announcement to the world, a signal that good things have arrived. Visualizing these specific details helps you appreciate how the author paints a vivid pen portrait of a figure who was once the heart of village life. It shows us how clothing and props can define a character's identity and role in society. You might think bread is just a side dish, but follow this winding path to see how it anchors every major life event in a Goan village. Notice how the type of bread changes with the occasion, from daily loaves for the elders to sweet bowl for weddings and cakes for Christmas. This illustrates that the baker's furnace wasn't just a kitchen, it was the cultural engine of the village. Grasping this cultural dependence explains why the author insists the baker's presence is absolutely essential. It teaches us that food is often the silent language of our most important celebrations. Writers use specific tools to build their world, and here we break down the specific vocabulary Rodriguez uses to craft his memories. Look at the phrase, plump physique, paired with the jackfruit icon. It is a humorous, sensory way to describe prosperity and well-being without saying it directly. By analyzing these specific word choices, you can detect the author's shift between fond memory and lighthearted wit. Mastering these tonal shifts is exactly what examiners look for when you interpret a memoir. It proves that a writer can be respectful and funny at the same time. Let's pause our journey for a moment and challenge your critical thinking skills with the questions on this slide. Consider the prompt on the left. Even if the father is gone, does the son carrying on the profession mean the tradition is truly alive? This prompts you to evaluate the difference between a thriving culture and a fading legacy. Answering these types of value-based questions bridges the gap between simply reading a story and understanding its sociological impact. It encourages you to look for similar fading traditions in your own community. Take a deep breath and step into the misty, rolling hills of our second destination, Coorg. Notice the sharp shift in iconography here. We move from the domestic comfort of bread to swords and wild forests. This visual transition signals a dramatic change in theme from nostalgia to valor and martial pride. Preparing yourself for this atmospheric shift is essential for understanding the rugged, independent spirit of the Kodavu people. It sets the mood for a story that is as much about the fierce people as it is about the landscape. Stand tall and observe the dignified figure wearing the kupia, that long black coat with the embroidered waist belt. This distinct attire serves as a living historical document, offering clues to their potential Arab or Greek ancestry. It is fascinating to see how clothing can spark theories about migration and lineage that span centuries. Connecting these visual details to the text's historical theories helps you substantiate answers about the unique identity of the Kodavas. It shows us that history isn't just written in books, it is worn on our backs. Look at how the river Kaveri flows through the center of this slide, acting as the literal and metaphorical lifeline of the region. You can see the biodiversity here is immense, ranging from the meditative monks in Bailakupa to the high-energy rafters conquering the currents. This contrast between spiritual calm and adrenaline-pumping adventure defines Coorg's dual personality. Recognizing this balance helps you explain why this small district appeals to such a wide variety of travelers. It is a rare place that feeds both the soul and the spirit of adventure. Writing a great literature answer is like building a house. You need a solid structure to keep it standing. Focus on the flow here, moving from the point at the top down to the evidence, and finally the explanation. Notice how the evidence section pulls specific facts like the firearms license to back up the general claim of bravery. Mastering this PEE formula, point, evidence, explanation, is the secret weapon for scoring high marks on your exams. It ensures your arguments are not just opinions, but proven facts. Prepare for an overload of green as we arrive at our final stop, the sprawling tea country of Assam. Observe how the tea bushes in the artwork stretch out like a vast sea, completely dominating the landscape. This sheer scale is important because it sets the backdrop for the dialogue between our two main characters, Pranjal and Rajvir. Understanding this setting is crucial, as the environment itself drives the plot of discovery and learning. It helps us visualize why Rajvir was so mesmerized by a view Pranjal took for granted. History often blends with myth, and here we see two competing legends about the origin of your morning cup. On the left, we have a scientific accident with a Chinese emperor, while on the right, we see a miraculous biological transformation involving Bodhidharma. These illustrations highlight how different cultures create stories to explain the things they cherish. Comparing these legends reveals the universal human desire to add mystique to our everyday habits. It reminds us that behind every common object there is often an extraordinary story. Follow the progression of icons to trace Rajvir's transformation from a passive passenger to an active learner. While Pranjal reads his detective book, notice how Rajvir uses binoculars and asks informed questions to engage with the world outside the window. This visual sequence perfectly illustrates the difference between simply seeing a place and truly observing it. Emulating Rajvir's curiosity is a great way to approach your own studies and travels. It teaches us that the best way to learn is to keep your eyes open and ask why. Now, let's leave the physical map and enter a metaphorical one with Adrian Rich's poem, The Trees. Look at the powerful imagery of roots and branches forcing their way out of the domestic space, cracking the very structure of the house. This isn't just about botany, it represents a violent, necessary struggle for freedom. Visualizing this struggle helps decode the poem's central theme, that nature, and perhaps the human spirit, cannot be permanently contained. It challenges us to ask what happens when we try to suppress something that was born to be wild. This mind map acts as a decoder ring for the complex symbols found in Rich's poem. Follow the branch on the right to the broken window, It represents the shattering of the artificial barriers we build around nature. Notice the bottom right image, where the moon is broken like a mirror, a simile that signifies the fragmentation of the old static world. Breaking down the poem into these visual components makes it much easier to analyze the poet's feminist and ecological messages. It turns abstract concepts into concrete images you can remember. As we conclude our expedition, look at the collection of souvenirs we've gathered on the left side of the slide. We aren't just taking home facts. We're taking home the essence of courage from Coorg, the warmth of tradition from Goa, and the excitement of discovery from Assam. Each icon represents a distinct glimpse that contributes to the diverse mosaic of India. Synthesizing these themes is the final step in truly mastering this chapter. It encourages you to think about what unique glimpse your own region would offer to the world. If this lesson helped you, please like and share it with others who may benefit. Subscribe to Pragnya Education for more clear, concept-driven learning. Keep learning, keep growing with wisdom.